Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. Also make sure you turn off your hot and cold water supplies. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the GE Washer Apron Conversion Kit. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the instructions, 2 spring clips, 1 nut and bracket assembly, 2 zip ties, a piece of conduit for the wires, and the 1-piece rod support. The main reason you'd be installing the apron conversion kit is if the old apron is bending, causing the motor brackets to rub on the base of the unit. In order to get to the part, we have to take off the front panel. We're going to use a putty knife to release the clips and pull it off. All you have to do is go from the side until you feel it, and then move over a little bit and press it in to release it. Once you have this side off, we can go over and do the other side. Once you have both clips released, you can lift the front panel off the mounting clips and set it aside. Now that we have the front panel off, we can go around back and remove the water lines from the water valve. We're going to put a towel down to catch any water that may come out, and then we're going to use pliers to loosen up the hoses and take them off. You want to make sure you remember which one is hot and which one is cold, so when we put them back on, you put them on the right fitting. Once you have them loose, you can just unscrew them by hand. Now the way the fill hose is disconnected, we can open up the console. To open up the console, we're going to use our 1/4-inch nut driver and remove the 3 screws across the back. Now that we have the screws out, we can lift the console up a little bit so these 3 tabs release from the top. Once you have it off, we're just going to set it to the side so we can lift the top off. Now we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to remove the 2 screws that holds the top to the cabinet. With the screws removed, we can pull the top panel of the washer forward, and then we have to lift up on it a little bit. And over on this side, we have to go underneath and release the lid switch so we can take it off the top so we can lift it off. So we're just going to take a flathead screwdriver and reach underneath and release it. Once you have the tab released underneath, we can lift up the washer lid and lift the lid switch out. And then we have to turn it and feed it back underneath. Once you have it back underneath, we can close the washer lid and lift the top off and set it aside. Now that we have the top out of the way, we can take the console assembly apart and lay it aside. First thing we're going to do is set the console down and disconnect the air pressure hose. To get the pressure hose off, all you have to do is pull it off the fitting. Might be on there a little bit tight, so you can turn it to break it free and then pull it off and set it aside. Once you have the hose disconnected, then we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to take out all the screws. With all the screws out, we can take the end caps off. All you have to do is slide these towards the front of the washer and lift them out. And then there's a little tab right here that you have to unhook it from. And once you have that off, you can just set it aside. Once you have both the end caps off, we have to take all this and kind of lay over to the side of the washer carefully so nothing gets damaged. We're going to take this air pressure hose out first. And just kind of set it off to the side. And then we can grab all this and lay it over to the side. Once you have the control panel out of the way, we can continue to take the washer apart. Now that we have the console and everything out of the way, we're going to have to remove everything else from the top, all the wiring. First thing we're going to do is use the 5/16" nut driver to remove the tub dampening straps from the tub cover. Once you have each screw out, you can lift the strap off the tub cover. Now we're over on the left side of the washer. We have to remove this piece of black conduit that the air pressure hose goes through. It's just held in by a little push rivet. So we're going to carefully get underneath it and pop it out with a screwdriver. We get a new one in the kit, so we're just going to throw this away. The other push rivet that we have to remove is on the right side in the center. It's this little wire harness clip. So we're going to take the wire harness out and then pop this out and throw it away. In order to make it easier to get the new one-piece support around all the wiring harness, we're going to remove the wiring harness and set it aside. We have to undo the red one first. There's locking tabs on each of these. All you have to do is press them and pull down. To remove the mounting tabs, we're going to compress them on the bottom with a little needle nose pliers and pull them out. There's one there. There's one up here. And then we're going to take off the grounding screw here using the 1/4-inch nut driver. Now we can remove the wiring harness from the drain pump. Remember, it's white and red on the left and black on the right. If it's on there tight, you can use a flathead screwdriver to kind of get in here and pop it off. Once you have the wires removed from the drain pump motor, you can remove these next two clips that hold the wiring harnesses to the cabinet. Now up top, we can remove the last two clips that hold the wiring harness in. Then we can remove the screw that holds in the grounding wires. Once you take off the screw that holds the grounding wires, there's nothing left supporting this, so make sure you hold on to it, and then we can pull the wires out and set this whole assembly aside so it doesn't get damaged. Now we have to go around and remove all four of the suspension rods from the top half. So what we're going to do is carefully lift up on each rod, and there's a little tab on the bottom of the socket that from underneath we have to press to release so we can get the support socket out. Once you have one out, you can carefully set it down and put the rod support in the corner so it's out of the way. And as you go around and take each one out, you're going to carefully set the tub down so it doesn't get damaged on the bottom of the washer. Now we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to remove these two screws on the front bracket so we can lift it out. Now that we have everything disconnected and taken off, we can take off the 3-piece apron. Here's the old 3-piece apron next to the new 1-piece apron conversion kit. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. We do have to switch some pieces from the old one to the new one, so we'll do that before we put it onto the machine. On the old apron kit, we have to take these screws out. They give us new tabs to put on the new one, but we need the screws from the old one to put them on. So we're just going to take these two screws out for the new apron kit and throw the old tabs away. Once you have those out, we can flip everything over, and we have to remove the screws that hold in all the holders that hold the straps. Once you have the screw out, you have to lift up and pull the tab out of the bracket. Now we can put everything out of the new apron. Just like the old one, we're going to drop it down into the opening and then set it down so the screw hole is lined up, and then we can use our 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screw in. Now that we have all the dampening straps mounted, we can turn the apron over and put the mounting clips on that hold the front panel. To put the front panel spring clip on, you want to make sure that this little tab here comes through the square opening. Once you have it lined up, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screw in. Now that we have the apron put together, we can install it on the washer. To put the new apron on, we're going to set it down in the back, and there's 2 tabs that we have to line up with the slots. Once you have it lined up, you can lower it down. As you lower it down, you want to make sure that these black tabs go behind the cabinet. So you may have to flex it a little bit and get it to go behind. Once you have both of them behind, we can use our 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screws in. Now that we have the apron mounted on the washer, we can go around and put everything else back on. Now we can put the suspension rods back in. Remember, there's 4 of them, 1 in each corner. So we're going to go around and lift one up at a time. When you let the suspension rods go down, the little bushing here should have stayed in the bracket. If it didn't, make sure when you lift it up that it goes back in there and snaps in. Once you have it in place, then we can lift the rod up and get it above the level of the apron. We can snap the bushing in underneath it. Once you have the first one done, then we can go around and do the other 3. Now we can put the conduit on for the air pressure hose. You want to line it up right here where this little tab is and just push it down into place. There's nothing that really holds it in other than pushing it down. Once you have it in there, we can feed the air pressure hose through it. Once you have that in place, then we can grab all the wiring and the control panel and put that back on. We're just going to lay the console right up here while we route the wiring harness, and then we can remount everything. The main wiring harness, remember we have to clip it in here, here, and then down below. So once you have the tabs lined up with the holes, all you have to do is carefully push them in so they lock into place. Once you have this one in, then the next one's going to be down below, but we're going to feed the wiring harness through this opening. The upper one goes here, right below the apron. As you go down, you want the main wiring harness to go behind the suspension rod, and then the pump one is going to go and connect right here. So all you have to do is snap that one in, and we can follow it down and plug the pump back in. Remember, the black was on the right, and the white with the red was on the left. Then we can jump over to the main wiring harness, and this clip goes right here by the support rod. And then we had this wiring clip goes right here. And the last one goes in the hole in the motor. Once you have the one on the motor connected, we can reconnect the wires to the motor. Remember, the red connector goes on the right side of the motor. All you have to do is line it up, plug it in so it locks. And the white plug goes on the left side. And then we have to put in the screw that holds in the grounding wire. So we're going to use our 1/4-inch nut driver to put that in. Once you have the grounding wire attached, we can go back up top and finish putting the wiring in. Now we can put the lid switch on. According to the instructions, we're not supposed to use the mounting tab. We're going to put a zip tie through the hole and tie the lid switch and the main wiring harness together. So we'll pull the wiring harness up and zip tie it all together to the frame. And you want to make sure when you tighten it down that the zip tie is right up against the old mounting thing. Once you have the zip tie tightened down, we can cut off the excess. Now we can reassemble the console. So we're going to first set the control panel up out of the way. And then this piece has to go across here, and this is the back piece that has to stand up. So we're just going to line it all up and put it together. Once you have the holes lined up, we're going to put in these 2 back screws to hold everything together while we put the end caps on. Now we can put the end caps on. You're going to have to lift up on this piece to get the end cap underneath it, and you have to make sure that these tabs go into the openings. Once you have it in place, you can slide it back to lock those tabs in, and then we need to put this locking tab into the end cap. Once you have it in place, we can use the 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screw in. Now we can do the one on the other side. Once you have it snapped in, we can put the screw in. Now we can reconnect the grounding wires. There's only 2 connectors, so we're just going to put them together and put the screw through it, and then guide it down to the hole and tighten it down. Now we can route the air pressure hose for the water level switch. All we have to do is feed it up through its opening and pull the console in. And then we want to push it onto the water level switch, making sure it goes on all the way so it gets a good seal. Now we can lift the console up and set it out of the way so we can reattach the dampening straps. We're going to use our 5/16 nut driver to put the screws in. Remember, there's 4 dampening straps. They all go on the same way. We're going to put the dampening strap on and then put the screw in to hold it in place. Now that we have all the dampening straps reattached, we can put the top back on the washer. To put the top back on, you're going to have to line it up when you set it down to make sure that this tab goes into that slot, and then you push it back to lock it in place, and then set it down so the front tab goes into that opening. To put the top on, we're just going to set it down and line up the tabs with the slots. And once you have the back ones in, you can push it back to lock it in place. Set it down, and we can use our 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screws in. Now that we have the top secure, we do have to put the lid switch on. So we're going to open up the lid and feed it through the opening. We're going to put the side with the wires in first, like this, and the locking tab is on this side, so we'll push it down and lock it into place. Now we can put the front panel on. All you have to do is set the lower panel onto the mounting brackets and lift it up into place so the 4 pins line up, and you can push the front panel on all the way and lock it into place. Now that we have the front panel on, we can close up the console. You want to make sure that the 3 tabs go into the opening on the top. Once you have the tabs in, you can rotate the console down, and then we can use our 1/4-inch nut driver to put the screws in. Now that we have the console put back together, we can reattach the water hoses. To reattach the hoses, you want to make sure you put the hot on the hot and the cold on the cold. And you want to start them with your hand to make sure you don't strip the water valve threads. It's only plastic. Once you have them hand tight, we can grab a pliers and tighten them down so we don't get any leaks. Once you have the hoses tightened down, you can plug the washer back in, turn the water back on, and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.